In the heart of Moscow, where golden domes touch the morning sky, stands a sanctuary of art and memory, a place where time itself seems to breathe. Here, color becomes language, and every brushstroke carries a heartbeat. From sacred icons to the dreams of revolution, from whispers of faith to cries of freedom, this is the story of a nation, told not in words, but in light. Welcome to the State Tretyakov Gallery, where the spirit of Russia lives forever on the canvas. Morning begins to unfold over Moscow. The first light of day spills gently across the horizon, brushing the city in soft shades of gold and rose. The ancient domes of churches glimmer beneath the awakening sky, their gilded crosses catching the sun like sparks of light. Beyond them, the modern skyline rises, towers of glass and steel reflecting the same warm glow, uniting past and present in one living breath. The river Moskva winds silently through the heart of the city, its waters rippling with liquid gold. Bridges stretch across it like ribbons of history, carrying the quiet pulse of morning traffic. Trams begin their steady rhythm along the streets, their bells echoing softly between buildings. Vendors open their stalls, fresh bread and coffee scenting the air. The city hums to life, a symphony of footsteps, whispers, and awakening voices. As the sun climbs higher, light pours down onto the historic Zamosforgy district, and there, standing with quiet grace, rises one of Russia's greatest treasures, the State Tretyakov Gallery. Its red brick facade glows warmly in the sunlight, a vision of elegance and strength. Fairy tale arches and colorful tiles adorn the entrance, a masterpiece of design created by the artist and architect Victor Vet. The building looks almost alive, like something born from legend, a gateway to another world, where centuries of art and imagination dwell together. People begin to gather at the gallery's steps, some locals, some travelers, all drawn by the same quiet reverence. They stand for a moment before entering, taking in the building's beauty, its towers and ornamentation glowing like a jewel in the morning sun. Inside these walls waits the soul of a nation. Paintings, icons, and portraits, each one a fragment of Russia's heart, each one a story whispered across generations. Here, amid the gentle echo of footsteps and the hush of admiration, art breathes living and eternal. The Tretyakov Gallery is not just a museum, it is a sanctuary of memory and emotion, a place where the spirit of Russia speaks without words. Morning over Moscow, a city awake, a museum alive, and a dream that continues to shine through the centuries. Every great creation begins with a dream, and the story of the State Tretyakov Gallery begins with one man's quiet, determined vision. In the heart of 19th century Moscow lived a merchant named Pavel Mikhailovich Tretyakov. He was not born an aristocrat, nor was he seeking fame. He was a man of modest character, guided by deep love for his country and its people. While others measured wealth in gold and property, Tretyakov measured his fortune in beauty and meaning. From a young age, he felt a longing, a desire to capture the soul of Russia, not through words or politics, but through art. He dreamed of a place where Russian painters could show the heart of their homeland, its struggles, its faith, its triumphs, and its humanity. At a time when Europe's galleries were filled with the works of foreign masters, Tretyakov sought to give his nation its own artistic voice. Quietly, almost in secret, he began collecting paintings. He visited studios, spoke to young artists, and purchased their works, not for luxury, but for love. He believed in them, in their talent, in their vision, in their truth. Many of these artists were not yet known, but Tretyakov saw what others could not, the reflection of Russia's spirit in their BRUSH STROKES. In 1856, he purchased his first painting, Vasily Kudyakov's The Temptation. It was this spark that ignited a lifelong devotion. Year after year, his collection grew, paintings of peasants and nobles, of storms and prayers, of landscapes vast and lonely, and faces filled with silent strength. He did not seek to impress, he sought to preserve. He believed that art should belong to the people, not the privileged few. As his collection expanded, his home itself became a gallery, a place where artists, thinkers, and dreamers gathered. He walked through the halls in the quiet hours of the night, looking upon the works he had gathered, each one a testament to his dream. When the time came, Tretyakov made a decision that defined his legacy. He gifted his entire collection, thousands of paintings, to the city of Moscow. It was not an act of charity, it was an act of love. He wanted every citizen, every child, every visitor, to stand before these works and see the beauty of their nation reflected back at them. In 1892, his private collection became the Moscow City Gallery of Pavel and Sergei Tretyakov, and later, it would be known as the State Tretyakov Gallery. What began as one man's personal dream became a national treasure, a living museum dedicated to the soul of Russia. Even now, as you walk through the halls of the gallery, you can feel his presence, quiet, watchful, and proud. Pavel Tretyakov's heart beats in every painting, in every brushstroke, in every visitor who pauses in awe before the beauty he preserved. His dream did not fade with time. It became eternal, a light that continues to guide Russia's art, generation after generation. Standing in the quiet streets of old Moscow, the State Tretyakov Gallery rises like a story carved in brick and stone. It is not merely a building, it is a reflection of Russia's heart, a structure that breathes with history, whispers with memory, and stands as a monument to the beauty it holds within. The facade greets every visitor like a painting come to life. Red bricks glow softly beneath the changing light, each shade deepening as the sun shifts across the sky. The ornate gables, the pointed towers, the delicate white trims, all evoke the spirit of Russian folklore. It feels as though one has stepped into a dream, a fairy tale vision built not of fantasy, but of devotion. The design came from the brush and mind of Viktor Vev, one of Russia's most beloved artists and a master of myth and legend. He imagined the gallery not as a cold institution, but as a living gateway, a threshold between the real world and the world of art. Every curve, every arch, every mosaic detail was crafted to embody the national soul. Above the entrance, a mosaic of St. George, Russia's eternal protector, stands proudly, symbolizing the triumph of good, truth, and beauty. Visitors pause beneath it, as though receiving a quiet blessing before crossing into the sacred space beyond. Inside, the atmosphere changes. The noise of the city fades away, replaced by stillness, a sacred hush that seems to linger in the air. High ceilings rise above broad, open halls, where light filters softly through skylights and windows. The walls, washed in warm tones, create a feeling of calm and welcome. Every corridor feels deliberate, as if guiding you gently through time. You pass from the ancient icons of faith, to the romantic visions of the 19th century, to the bold colors of modern expression. The architecture does not merely contain art, it communicates with it, embracing each era, each voice, each dream. The floors are smooth beneath the visitor's steps, echoing softly as they move from one gallery to the next. There are moments when the air itself feels alive, as if the walls have absorbed centuries of admiration, as if they too remember every gaze, every sigh, every moment of awe. The Tretyakov Gallery was never meant to impress through grandeur alone. It was meant to inspire intimacy, to draw people closer to art, to emotion, to truth. Its design invites you to wander slowly, to lose yourself in reflection, to feel that you are walking not just through a building, but through the living essence of Russian culture. At the heart of this great museum, one realizes something profound. Architecture, too, is a form of art, and this building, with its warmth, its strength, its quiet dignity, is a masterpiece of its own. The Tretyakov Gallery stands today as a symbol of a nation's creativity and resilience, a home where art, history, and spirit intertwine. Within its walls, the past still speaks, the present still breathes, and the soul of Russia endures timeless and unbroken. When you first step into the earliest rooms of the Tretyakov Gallery, the atmosphere changes, the air becomes still, the light softens, and a quiet reverence fills the space. These are the sacred beginnings of Russian art. Here, in golden glow and silence, the story of centuries unfolds, a story painted not with ego or ambition, but with faith, patience, and devotion. The walls are lined with icons, holy images born from prayer and vision. Each one glimmers beneath dim light, their gold leaf halos shimmering softly like candle flame. These are not merely paintings. They are spiritual windows, gateways between the divine and the human. Time seems to pause here. The faces of saints, angels, and the Virgin gaze outward, their expressions calm, eternal, filled with compassion. The colors are restrained yet radiant, deep red, royal blue, gentle green, and the luminous brilliance of gold. Each hue chosen not for decoration, but for meaning, each brushstroke a prayer whispered in pigment. And among these sacred treasures stands one of the greatest masterpieces of all, Andrei Rublev's Trinity. It rests in quiet majesty, three angels seated around a table, their gestures balanced in perfect harmony. No movement, no noise, only the stillness of divine unity. In their serene faces, the painter captured something infinite, not power or glory, but peace, humility, and love. Rublev's Trinity is more than art. It is an experience of silence made visible. It radiates the light of belief, the gentle warmth of spiritual truth. For centuries, it has been regarded as the soul of Russian painting, the moment when faith became form, and devotion became beauty. Walking through these rooms, one senses the weight of time, centuries of worship, loss, rebirth, and endurance. Many of these icons once hung in wooden churches, their colors glowing in the flicker of oil lamps and candlelight. When the storms of history swept across the land, some were lost, others hidden, but those that survived now live here, preserved, revered, and alive. Visitors often whisper without meaning to, as though the silence of the icons asks for respect. The stillness feels sacred, a reminder that long before art became expression, it was prayer. Here, at the dawn of Russian art, we see not the artist's ego, but the artist's soul. Each figure, each line, each shimmer of gold is part of a greater harmony, a vision that reaches beyond time. And as one moves deeper into the gallery, leaving behind these ancient visions, the transition feels like stepping from the eternal into the earthly, from heaven into the living world. But the glow of the icons never fades. It follows you quietly, a golden memory that lingers in the heart, reminding every visitor that the roots of Russian art are not merely painted. They are prayed into being, From the stillness of sacred icons, the path through the Tretyakov Gallery leads into a new world, a world alive with emotion, color, and human truth. The 19th century was an age of change. Russia was awakening, its people questioning, struggling, dreaming, and its artists, moved by compassion and conviction, turned their gaze away from the heavens and toward the faces of their own nation. This was the birth of realism, a movement that gave voice to the ordinary, that painted not only beauty, but reality. Here, on the grand walls of the gallery, hang the masterpieces of artists who defined an era: Ilya Repin, Vasily Perov, Vasily Surikov, Ivan Kramskoy, Gregory Myosodov, and others. They are more than names in history. They are storytellers of the Russian soul. Repin's works command the eye with their raw emotion and power. His barge haulers on the Volga stretches across the canvas like a river of hardship. Men strain under the weight of ropes, their bodies bent by labor, their faces marked by exhaustion. And yet, there is dignity in their struggle, a silent strength that no oppression can erase. Repin does not glorify pain. He honors resilience. Nearby, Ivan the Terrible and his son captures a moment of unbearable tragedy. A father's rage turned into horror. A son's life fading beneath trembling hands. The brushstrokes scream without sound. The colors burn with sorrow and guilt. Few paintings in the world carry such emotional weight. Across the hall, Vasily Surikov's monumental canvases recreate the epic dramas of Russian history. His Boyarina Morozova freezes a single moment in time, a noble woman, chained and defiant, raising two fingers in a gesture of faith as she is dragged through the snow. Crowds surround her, some mock, some pity, some pray. The scene is vast, yet intimate. It captures not only an event, but the spirit of conviction. Vasily Perov turns his eye to the struggles of the common people. His The Drowned Woman and the Troika speak of poverty, sorrow, and endurance, while his portrait of Dostoevsky reveals the haunting intellect of Russia's greatest writer. Perov's art is honest, sometimes painful, but always filled with compassion. And Ivan Kramskoy, with his quiet intensity, paints the inner worlds of thought and doubt. His famous Christ in the Desert is not a divine vision of glory, but a portrait of human loneliness and reflection. It is the image of every soul, facing silence and truth. Together, these artists created a mirror that showed Russia to itself. They painted peasants and nobles, saints and sinners, forests and fields, war and peace, not to judge, but to understand. As you walk through these halls, you feel the pulse of life in every canvas. The light shifts, shadows deepen, and the faces on the walls seem almost to breathe. There is sadness here, and beauty, and pride woven together like the threads of a vast tapestry. This is the heart of the Tretyakov Gallery, the beating core, where art becomes truth. The realists gave Russia its reflection, and in doing so, they gave it a conscience. Their legacy still echoes through the gallery's quiet air, a reminder that true art does not simply decorate. It awakens, questions, and endures. After the powerful faces and stories of the Tretyakov Gallery opens into a quieter world, a world of light, wind, and endless horizons. Here, the roar of human struggle gives way to the whisper of forests, the stillness of rivers, and the golden breath of the Russian countryside. This is the realm of landscape painting, where art becomes a dialogue between man and nature, and every canvas feels like a heartbeat of the earth. On these walls hang the works of the great masters Ivan Shishkin, Isaac Levitan, Arkhip Kuinji, Alexei Savrasov, and others, artists who looked not just at the land, but into it, and found within it the soul of a nation. Ivan Shishkin was called the singer of the forest. His trees stand like ancient guardians, each leaf painted with the precision of love. In his Morning in a Pine Forest, sunlight filters through tall pines, soft and golden, illuminating playful bear cubs among the roots. It is a scene both tender and eternal, a moment of nature's innocence captured forever. Nearby, Isaac Levitan's canvases speak in a quieter voice, filled with poetry, solitude, and gentle melancholy. His Above Eternal Peace shows a vast lake under a silver sky, a lonely church resting on a distant hill. The world feels still, as though holding its breath in awe. Levitan once said, "A landscape becomes the state of a soul." And in his paintings, the soul of Russia stretches endlessly, aching and beautiful. Arkhip Kuinji, the master of light, paints with emotion rather than detail. His moonlit night on the Dnieper glows with ethereal radiance, the river gleaming like liquid silver beneath the moon, the sky vast and trembling with mystery. His colors are not naturalistic, they are spiritual, as if drawn from dreams and memories rather than sight. Alexei Savrasov's The Rooks Have Returned captures the quiet promise of spring after a long, harsh winter. The thawing snow, the first blackbirds circling the sky, a symbol of renewal, of hope reborn. Simple, familiar, deeply human. Together, these artists transformed a landscape into emotion. They showed that nature was not just scenery, but memory, not background, but identity. In their skies and fields, in their birch trees and rivers, lies the heart of Russia, vast, enduring, and filled with both sorrow and strength. As you move through these galleries, you can almost feel the wind on your face, hear the rustle of leaves, and sense the distant echo of church bells across an endless plain. Each painting is a window, a portal to silence, a reminder that in the immensity of nature, there is both loneliness and peace. Here, the painters of the Russian land found a universal truth, that to understand a nation, one must first understand its landscape. The forests, rivers, and skies of these canvases are not just images, they are emotions, memories, and prayers. And, as you leave this section, you carry that peace within you, a quiet reflection of the Russian soul, painted not with words, but with light itself, that you walk deeper into the Tretyakov Gallery. The tone begins to shift once more. The clear lines of realism fade behind you, and in their place, a new world begins to unfold, a world of dreams, visions, and mystery. This is the age of symbolism, a time when Russian artists turned inward, seeking not just to paint what they saw, but what they felt. It was an art of imagination, where myth and faith, sorrow and beauty, became one. The air in these rooms feels different, heavier with emotion, filled with quiet awe. Here, light shimmers not from the outside world, but from within the soul. On the walls hang the haunting works of Mikhail Ver, the visionary who painted angels and demons, beauty and tragedy intertwined. His brush seemed to carve light itself, faces emerging from darkness, eyes filled with longing, wings shimmering with sorrow. In his famous The Demon Seated, a fallen spirit sits among violet clouds, powerful yet broken, his gaze distant, infinite, and lost. It is a portrait of eternal struggle between pride and despair, between creation and ruin. Rubel's art burns like a fevered dream, half pain, half revelation. Nearby, the world of Viktor Vaznetsov feels gentler, a realm of Russian legend and faith, where heroes, saints, and dreamers dwell. He painted what lived in the nation's imagination, the ancient tales, the epic courage, the timeless hope that guided generations. His Alyonushka, with its melancholy young girl by the water, seems to breathe sadness and innocence at once. His Bogaders, standing proud and solemn, guard the spirit of the land itself. And then, the quiet spirituality of Mikhail Nestorov, his paintings filled with contemplation, where every face looks not at the viewer, but beyond, into eternity. The vision of the youth Bartholomew glows with purity, telling the story of faith discovered in solitude. In Nestorov's art, the world feels suspended between heaven and earth, soft, timeless, and filled with divine silence. Together, these painters turned art into meditation. They did not describe life, they interpreted it. Their colors were emotional, their symbols, spiritual. Every brushstroke seemed to carry a secret meaning, an echo of something greater. The symbolists of Russia were dreamers of light and shadow. They believed that art could reveal the invisible, that beauty could lead the human spirit toward truth. Walking through this section feels like drifting through a dream. The figures seem to move when you are not looking. The eyes of painted angels follow you softly, not to haunt, but to remind you of the unseen world that lives within us all. These works stand as bridges, between the real and the mystical, between earth and sky, between heart and eternity. The Tretyakov Gallery, through their presence, becomes not just a museum, but a cathedral of imagination, a place where emotion takes form, and where art whispers the language of the soul. The journey through Russian art does not end in the 19th century. It evolves just as Russia itself transforms. Crossing from the historic halls of the old Tretyakov, you enter a new space, vast, modern, and daring. This is the new Tretyakov Gallery, standing on the banks of the Moskva River, a monument to the revolutionary spirit of the 20th century. Here, the walls no longer whisper of ancient myths or gentle landscapes. They pulse with energy, the energy of change, of rebellion, of artists breaking free from tradition to explore new worlds of form and color. This is where modern Russian art comes alive, and it begins with visionaries. At the heart of this revolution stands Kazimir Malevich, the father of suprematism, a movement that sought pure feeling beyond representation. His most famous work, Black Square, hangs not as a picture, but as a statement, a radical declaration that art no longer needs to imitate life. A simple square, yet infinite in meaning. Malevich once said, "It is from zero, in zero, that the true movement of being begins." And with that, Russian art began anew. Beside him, Vasily Kandinsky, the pioneer of abstract art, turned sound into color and emotion into shape. In his swirling compositions, lines and hues seemed to dance to invisible music. He believed that every color had a voice, every form a soul. His art was a symphony, one that sang of freedom and spirit. Then comes Alexander Rodchenko, the restless innovator who redefined what art could be. He shattered the barrier between art and life, creating bold geometric designs, photographs that played with perspective, and sculptures that seemed to float in space. His work was the heartbeat of a new age, constructive, experimental, fearless. Around them, other modernists rise. Natalia Gonch, with her fusion of folk tradition and futurism, Lybov Popova, whose dynamic compositions exploded with rhythm, L. Lissiski, whose visionary prouns bridged painting and architecture. Together, they built a visual language for a new world, a world of motion, energy, and transformation. Walking through these halls feels like stepping inside the mind of revolution. The canvases no longer depict, they command. Lines intersect, colors collide, forms dissolve and reform everything alive with intention. Here, art is no longer bound by beauty or subject. It is about thought, movement, emotion, about the future. The new Tretyakov Gallery captures that daring century when Russian artists did not just reflect their time. They invented it. Every corner holds a whisper of radical dreams, a vision of how art could shape the way humanity sees itself. And amid this storm of creativity, you feel the echo of the old Tretyakov spirit, that same passion for truth, for expression, for the soul of the nation. The two galleries, old and new, stand as mirrors of one another, one rooted in history, the other reaching toward infinity. Together, they tell the full story of Russian art, from sacred icons to pure abstraction, from the earthly to the cosmic. Here, in the new Tretyakov, you witness not just paintings, but the pulse of an era, an explosion of color, a manifesto of vision, a journey beyond reality itself. Every great museum begins with a dream, and the Tretyakov Gallery began with the dream of one man. In the heart of 19th century Moscow, amid merchants, craftsmen, and poets, lived a quiet, thoughtful man named Pavel Mikhailovich. He was not a nobleman or a prince, he was a merchant, a man of modest manners but limitless vision. While others built empires of trade, Tretyakov built an empire of art. He believed that Russia needed a gallery of its own, not filled with foreign treasures, but with the works of Russian painters, capturing the life, faith, and soul of his people. He began simply, buying a few paintings to decorate his family home on Lavrushinsky Lane. But soon, his passion grew beyond walls and reason. He collected not for himself, but for his country. Every brushstroke he purchased, every artist he supported, was an act of love for the nation he cherished. He sought out the best of Russia's painters, those who spoke truth through color and form. He supported the peredvishniki, the wanderers, who defied the academy and brought art to the people. Tretyakov visited their studios, listened to their struggles, and quietly bought their works, not for profit, but to preserve their voices. He did not simply buy paintings. He believed in artists. When young painters faced hardship, he offered help without hesitation, paying debts, funding exhibitions, commissioning works that would define an era. By the 1880s, his house overflowed with art, hall after hall filled with masterpieces. Visitors came from across the city to see what one man's vision could achieve. And then, in a gesture of pure generosity, Tretyakov gave it all, his home, his collection, his life's work, to the city of Moscow. He wrote simply, "I wish to create a gallery that will be accessible to everyone, that will serve the public, and benefit my beloved Russia." In 1892, the State Tretyakov Gallery was born, a national treasure, built not by the state, but by the heart of one man. Pavel Tretyakov continued to expand the collection until his final days, searching tirelessly for new talent, always guided by his unwavering belief that art belongs to the people. Even after his death in 1898, his spirit lived on in every painting he chose. The gallery that bears his name became more than a museum, it became a living testament to the power of vision, humility, and generosity. And his legacy inspired others, collectors, patrons, and dreamers who followed his path. Sergei, Ivan Morozov, Sava Mamontov, men who risked fortune and reputation to bring the future of Russian art to life. Together, they built bridges between the artist and the nation, between creativity and compassion. As you walk through the Tretyakov Gallery today, you are walking through Pavel Tretyakov's dream, a dream painted in oil and spirit, a dream that continues to breathe through every room. The portraits, the landscapes, the symbols, the abstractions, they all whisper his name, a quiet reminder that one person's love for beauty can change the destiny of a culture. His vision turned a simple home into a sanctuary of the Russian soul, and his generosity made it belong to the world. As the journey through the Tretyakov Gallery comes to an end, you begin to feel something deeper than admiration, something eternal. This place is more than walls and paintings. It is the beating heart of Russian art, a living chronicle of beauty, struggle, and faith. Each canvas holds a fragment of the nation's soul. Each face, each landscape, each dream tells the story of a people, their triumphs, their sorrows, their hopes. From the sacred icons of ancient faith to the bold abstractions of modern vision, the Tretyakov Gallery spans centuries of creation. It holds within it the entire arc of a civilization, from devotion to revolution, from earth to infinity. And yet, despite the vastness of its collection, the gallery remains deeply human. You can feel it in the silence of its halls, in the gaze of portraits that seem to watch you breathe, in the quiet echo of footsteps over marble floors. Every visitor who walks these rooms becomes part of the story, a new voice added to the endless conversation between art and the human heart. Outside, the city of Moscow moves and hums, alive with modern rhythm cars, voices, lights, the constant pulse of change. But inside the Tretyakov, time slows. You step beyond the rush of days and stand face to face with eternity. Generations have come and gone, yet the spirit of Pavel Tretyakov still lingers here, gentle, watchful, proud. His dream lives on in the eyes of those who come to see, to feel, to remember. New exhibitions rise. Young artists find inspiration, and the dialogue between past and present continues, as vibrant and alive as ever. For art, like life, never ends. It transforms, it renews, it reaches forward from one soul to another, from one century to the next.